My name's Meg. Happy Tuesday. I'm super excited to be chatting here with y'all today. Or sorry, it's Wednesday. Jesus, I can't remember days in quarantine. My apologies. Happy Wednesday. My name is Meg. I'm here as part of the Power to Fly virtual hosting team. I am super excited to dig into today's questions, introduce you to our speaker, and really dig into the subject because it was on my list of dibs that I wanted to make sure I hosted. As we get started, I am going to go over a couple real quick housekeeping items for you all today. So just in case you haven't joined us for a prior chat, just kind of give you an idea of how today's going to go. So the first thing that you need to know is that, like all of our virtual events, today is all about you. It's all about our attendees and making sure that you all get as much out of today as we put into these events. So to that end, we highly encourage participation. You are more than welcome to do that in a couple different ways. You can turn your cameras on to share your smiling maskless faces with the rest of us. I know I very much appreciate seeing those now more than ever that you don't really see a lot of them in public. Thank you. You're also more than welcome to come off mute to ask questions or submit comments as you would like to. If you do come off mute, whether or not you turn your cameras on or not, if you come off mute, then either your camera or your avatar, whatever is showing up, your display name, whatever, will show up on our live stream to our website, as well as the recording that'll be posted to our website and our YouTube channel. So if for whatever reason you want to make sure that nobody knows you're here, not a problem. You can still participate. All you'll have to do is make sure you don't come off mute. So just make sure, keep that in mind, and you can still comment or ask questions in the Zoom group chat. Now, if you are in deep cover and want to make sure no one ever knows you're here, not a problem. I promise not to tell SEAL Team 6 or whoever. All you have to do, you can still participate. You're just going to want to use the Zoom group chat, and instead of sending it to everyone, you're going to click that drop down and pick my name from the list, Meg Alexander Powerfly. That way, your comments and questions will come to me. I'll be monitoring the chat throughout today's session, and I'll be more than happy to raise your questions or comments anonymously. As I touched on briefly before, today's session is being recorded. So whether you come and you spend 5 minutes with us, or you spend the full 60, or you, for whatever reason, registered but were not able to attend today at all, everyone that registers for today's session is going to get an email in 1 to 2 business days with a link to rewatch this recording. And I think it'll direct you to our the video where it's hosted on our website. If you want to get it more quickly or want to see the video, let's say that Eleanor says something mind-blowing that your mom has to hear or your best friend has to hear, you are more than welcome to share the link with them from our YouTube channel. Like I said, this video will be posted to our YouTube channel as soon as the recording ends today, so you'll be able to get there. You can find us, our YouTube channel is @Power2Fly, and you can actually also follow all of our social media accounts, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, as well as YouTube. We are @Power2Fly on all of those areas. I highly recommend it. We have kind of slightly different content in each medium, so please feel free to take a look at there. And what else? Oh, as far as coming off mute, if that is something you want to do, amazing. As we go through this, we've kind of condensed and compiled the questions that you all submitted prior to today's session. If we aren't going to ask your question, it's not a big deal. You can still get your question answered or asked and answered. The best way to do that is by coming off mute to ask. Second best way is by putting it in the chat. But if you are going to come off mute, the one thing we do ask is that you only come off mute when you're directly speaking, asking your question, whatever, and then go back on mute. I'll be doing the same thing throughout today's presentation so that no one has to listen to the 2 bulldogs snoring less than a foot from my desk. And then just try to do your best to make sure that you're not speaking over Eleanor or another attendee. Meanwhile, I get paid to fill the silence, so if it's just me prattling on and you want to ask your question, please feel free to interrupt me. That is totally fair game. If I do mute you, I promise I won't do it while somebody's talking, but if I do mute you, it's not a rebuke. You're still welcome to comment or ask questions. It's just to make sure that we maintain audio clarity for the recording as well as everybody that's on today's chat. I think we're all familiar enough with Zoom by now to know that some odd noise in the background of somebody else's chat could mean that you miss every other third word or whatever that somebody's saying. So as we get started, I am really excited to introduce you to our speaker. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to drop them into the Zoom group chat, either to everyone or to me directly. So I am really excited to introduce you to Eleanor Cohen. Elinor is of the Just Me company. She's a confidence coach and a creative marketer. She helps smart women tap into their heart's message so that they can connect with their purpose and find their voice. With over 15 years of marketing and coaching experience, Elinor will show us how to create a personal brand that will make a positive impact among your colleagues and in your network. So thank you, Elinor, for joining us today. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to that introduction before we start with your presentation part of today?
Well, thank you so much. First of all, I'm very excited to be here. What I did want to add is that this is my work is like, I feel like it's my contribution in this world. And this is what I'm going to be talking to you about. I've been helping smart women, just like you, all of the women here are very smart, step into their authentic selves and following their heart's calling so that they can make a contribution in this world. And helping people find their purpose, getting it out of their heart and into the world is my contribution, basically. Because I truly believe that we all came into planet Earth with gifts, and that our gifts are nudging at us every single day, wanting to be expressed. They are not meant to be left inside of you. And I really believe that when we express our gifts in this lifetime, we feel happier, more fulfilled, and that fills up our cup. So not only does it fill up our cup and we feel happy, but that influences and impacts our immediate surroundings. So our families, our friends, our colleagues, everyone that's in our surroundings. And notice I didn't call this Q&A, this chat and learn, creating deeper meaning at work. I called it making your work have deeper meaning. I'm sorry, I called it creating deeper meaning at work, not making your work have deeper meaning. And so sometimes people get confused, and I noticed from the questions that we got, that some people are like, well, what if my work isn't fulfilling? How do I make deeper meaning out of it? And I called this specifically creating deeper meaning at work, not making your work have deeper meaning, because it doesn't have to.
Thank you for making that distinction. I think it's a very important point to make, is that, it's not about changing the work that you're doing. It's more about the work that you can, not trying to change the things you can't change or that are outside your control, but changing maybe your attitude or what you're bringing to work or that kind of thing. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So as we get started here, I know that I'm going to pause briefly before we do jump in. We do have a couple slides of the questions. I'm going to pause on this slide as well as our second slide in case anybody of our joiners want to take a screen grab. You don't have to, because today's being recorded, you don't have to take notes. Please don't feel like that. You can always review the recording if you didn't quite catch what someone said or you want to, know a reference or something. But some of our more type A joiners do tend to like the fact that we share the questions that are at least slated to be asked today. So please feel free to grab that screen grab if you'd like. This will also, I'm going to swap to the next slide. This will also kind of give you a little bit of a roadmap to where the discussion is going to go later, and kind of let you know if maybe you have a question that would fit in nicely with one of these, or if you have a question that we aren't going to touch on, make sure you ask it so that way you get your answer. Again, we always give prime treatment to the people that attend, so please, please, please make the most of today and feel free to ask and participate. So Elinor, to start with your first slide, take it away.
All right. So how I'm going to work this is I'm going to just kind of like talk away at a few slides, and I really encourage you to download the worksheets for the link that we posted in the chat so that you can follow along. Because I asked some questions to find meaning, you have to ask yourself some good high quality questions. So the first thing I'm just wondering here is like, why are you here today? And if you can just type in the chat, and tell me what you do and where you feel like you are lacking meaning, why this is interesting to you, or where you'd like to find more meaning. What is it that you do, where you'd like to find more meaning, or where you feel like you're lacking meaning? What is interesting to you about this chat, room? Just wait a few minutes for a few seconds for some people to chat. I think there's a slight delay before I see anybody typing anything.
Yeah, there will be a little bit of a delay. Maybe to get you guys started, I know that, I work at Power to Fly, which I believe in the meaning of our work very much. But there are, like any other job, there's tasks that in the minutia of them, I'm like, why do we have to do this? I really don't like this. Like, sometimes it's back end setup, sometimes it's like kind of ticking boxes after the fact, but there's definitely room in any job, no matter how meaningful, to kind of create a deeper meaning for yourself. So don't feel like you have to, solve the riddle of the Sphinx here. It's just whatever, makes most sense to you in your particular set.
And I'm going to take you out of the work realm and show you how when you create meaning out of work, it translates into work. So I'm just going to move over to the next slide and start. And you guys can chat whenever you feel comfortable, when a question comes up, or to let us know what it is that you do and where you want to find more meaning. So first, let's start with something very simple. Like, what does it mean to find deeper meaning, and why is it important? So I'm just going to give you my definition of what is meaning. And my definition is simple. It's just something that is emotional and close to your heart, right? And that's all it is. Something meaningful and purposeful is emotional and close to your heart. You're attaching an emotion to it. Most people seek meaning and purpose their entire lives, though, when in reality, it really is just under their nose. And I want to clarify something. A lot of people come to me. I've been doing this for over 7 years, coaching people on this. And a lot of people come to me and ask me to help them find their purpose. And I want to clarify something. Before I do that, I see what Michelle says. Hello, I'm a director of software engineering. I work mainly males. I'm trying to navigate these next few years, but I'm really looking to move out of the corporate world in the next 5 years. Okay, great. So that could be your meaningful mission. We'll get to that in just a few more minutes. So I want to clarify something about purpose. Just the fact that we exist is purpose enough. The fact that we are born into a body and the body is living here on planet Earth is purpose enough. How we choose to experience this purpose is completely up to us. So you can choose any day, any minute, any second to experience your purpose in any which way possible. And by experience, I mean you can feel about it and have meaning attached to it in any which way you want. So you can make it mean that this minute sucks, or you can make it mean that this minute is amazing. In the middle, you can make it mean like, okay, I have this big mission and this big goal that I want to achieve. And in the middle, I'm learning how to get there. But it really is up to us to create that meaning for ourselves, right? And this is important because your human experience is always going to have ups and downs. But when you are connected to your purpose and meaning, you'll always feel a desire from within to be of service. One of the basic human desires is contributions. When we contribute to something greater than ourselves, we feel fulfilled, right? And there's a difference between contributing when you should do something or when you want to. So ask yourself sorry, what did I write here in my notes? So ask yourself, which is why it's important to create. This is why it's important to create your own meaning. You want to come from a place of this is what I want versus this is what I think I should be doing. So again, your purpose is already enough by the fact that you exist. How you choose to live this purpose and create meaning, whatever it means to you, is completely up to you. One of the basic human needs is contribution and wanting to be of service to a cause that's greater than you. That doesn't mean it has to be for an organization. It could be for the purpose. I'm going to talk about how having a purpose that's self-serving is perfectly okay. But the fact that you are making a contribution because you decided to will already shift your energy and make you feel different, fulfilled, and will help you stand out. So I want to ask you a very simple question. What is it that you love to do for others? This is one basic question you can ask about making contribution. But I also want to point out that being of service doesn't mean you have to go volunteer in a foreign country or put in extra hours at work. It can simply mean making a contribution in your little slice of the world. It could be in or out of work. And you can create deeper meaning right now on this Lunch and Learn by making this meeting very meaningful to you. You can say, you can decide right now to say, for example, this meetup will be the catalyst that has started my journey for making a contribution. And that already has meaning. So if you think about it, how does it feel? What's the difference in feeling when you're just like, oh, I'm just here to kind of hear what this person has to say, or I'm here in this meeting. Today is the meeting that's going to be the catalyst that's going to change my career from now on in the next 3 years. That feels different. The emotion behind it, one is kind of like more, and the other one is more inspired and excited. I wonder what's next, right? So if you want to chat and share with us, what is it that you love to do? Where do you love to be of service to yourself or others? Being of service to yourself could also be like, I just need to take some time off and meditate, or just shut myself in the bathroom so the kids don't find me and just breathe a little bit. That is being of service to you and also to your kids in the long run, because you're going to be a happier, more calm person. Mother. All right. All right. So Michelle, can I ask you, do you have any questions regarding where you want to create more meaning on your path, or is there some place where you are lacking meaning? Just type it in the chat and I'll be looking out for it.
Michelle, you're also welcome to come off mute to comment if you'd like, but no worries if you don't want to.
Yep, you can also unmute yourself.
I'm actually trying to think myself as we go through this, because there's definitely certain parts of my job. I mean, like even when I wasn't getting to host with Power to Fly, when I was, when the majority or more of my job was these tasks that I didn't love to do, but I really still believed in the mission. I think part of the way I got through it, or tried to make sure that I was as productive as possible, was to focus on the impact of that and realize that, yeah, like I don't really love ticking off spreadsheets, but this is how we get women jobs. This is how we get people, to be, get them interviews. This is how we get them in the room with these other people that, the companies they want to break into.
Right. So this is what makes you feel like you're making impact in your slice of the world. And when you get into the tasky, annoying things, you can just step back for a minute and say, why am I doing this in the first place? Where did this come from? What's the purpose of this anyway? When you connect to that, you just immediately infuse yourself with better feelings, more positive feelings, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can move to the next slide. So we've gotten into what it means to create a deeper meaning, why it's important. And there's a trap that I don't want you to fall into. And that is that most people think you have to be in service only to others, but you can do completely self-serving things and still impact or contribute positively to humanity. So for example, when you want to create time for creativity, drawing or music, you are still contributing, right? You're still creating things for people to look at or listen to and enjoy. And that's contribution. And it seems like only good things come from your creativity. There's nothing wrong with, if you need to just set some time away, set some time for yourself and create, then this is something that you should be doing. And as a matter of fact, if you have a passion for artistic expression, I encourage you to go and create as much as possible. You will see a whole world open up to you. And it's completely normal to have your purpose, mission, meaning be self-serving if you believe it will be nourishing to you or if it will fill your cup. Because it's like, as I said, when you nourish yourself and you fill your own cup, everybody else around you benefits. So when clients come to me sometimes, this is a classic, this is a women, something that happens often with women is that we feel like we need to take care of others before we take care of ourselves. And we start opening up this can of worms, like what feels good to you? And I constantly prod at, well, why can't you take the time to do this? Why can't you take the time to do this? And we slowly massage away the thoughts about, well, the kids need me first. And I'm not talking about like when you have very small children and they're very, dependent on you and on you. I'm talking about women who have children who are teenagers or even like 10 years old and completely self-sufficient. Well, the kids need me first. No, I can't do this. I have to do laundry first. And get them to step away from the fact that they need to take care of other people before they take care of themselves. It's a lot of women feel this way. I have to say that men feel less like this. Michelle says, I just need to trust myself that I have it in me to do whatever I need to do career-wise. Also prioritizing me over others. Exactly. This is exactly what we're talking about. So when you practice being on purpose, and I'm going to give you the steps, and creating meaning, you constantly tap into your well of joy. And that allows you to grow the trust in yourself. So you tap into your well of joy. You think, what is meaningful to me? What is I want to do? You tap into your well of joy. You take action from that place, and your confidence in yourself and your trust in yourself grows as you take action from that place of I want to do this versus someone else is telling me I should do this or I have to do this, right? That's great, Michelle. It's good insight. You can move on to the next slide. So be self-serving, it's totally okay. So how does this translate into your work? So as I said in the beginning, your work does not have to be the driver of deeper meaning. You are the driver of deeper meaning. As a matter of fact, nothing outside of you is the driver of deeper meaning, because, and the proof of that is that we are all facing the same world event, a pandemic, elections. Different people attach different meanings to these same exact situations. And just as someone is creating meaning from Republicans and the pandemic and wearing a mask, so can you about every single thing that you come across in life. Every single thing is meaningful when you create meaning out of it, right? So, but when you're working on passion projects, things that fill you up and fill your cup, and things that are meaningful, you create emotions that are inspiring, passionate, and confident. And it's okay, and if it's outside of work. And these feelings are not exclusive to work. If you think about it, if you spend a lot of time doing something you love and something that fulfills you, how would you feel? You would feel really good, maybe relaxed and grounded and in tune with yourself. When you feel this way often, and because you're doing things that create these kinds of emotions, when you show up to work, your energy is different. And because you have spent hours feeling good, you're just different as you go to work. Your blueprint of emotions, your emotional landscape doesn't change because you step into work. I mean, sometimes it does. Let's be honest. But when you practice over time being a certain way, once you step into the office, you are still more, what's the word I'm looking for? You're more in tune and more likely to be that person. So as an example, even if you're having a negative spiral of negativity, or you're not feeling well, or you're in a grief period, and you're used to feeling this way for a long period of time, when you step into the office, you're still feeling this way, right? And also, if you go to the gym and you work out and you're building muscles, those muscles don't disappear once you step into the office. Muscles are just a physical manifestation of what's happening inside of you. They're a great example. You're practicing working out and being, strong. When you step into work, you're still strong. You still have muscles. It's not different, right? So these feelings are not exclusive to work, and it doesn't have to be created through work, but you most certainly will bring it to work because it will be inevitable. It will be very obvious in your energy, in your positivity, your passion will feel contagious, and it will start making you stand out to people around you. If you notice, and I really encourage you to go practice this at home, maybe for a week. Find something that's meaningful for you and spend a lot of time thinking about it and writing about it and being in the energy of it, and then going to work. I am pretty sure, I'm very sure, I bet my left pinky on it, that people will start saying to you, you feel different. What's changed about you? Did you change your hair? Did you change? And you would have changed nothing about your physical appearance, but people will have noticed your energy is different. I did some research before this chat and learn to find out what managers value about their employees most. And these are the top qualities that stood out from a bunch of articles, research articles that I read. The number one thing is confidence. The second thing is passion. And the third is high energy. And so again, tapping into your gifts and your purpose and meaning will get you to feel this way, right? But also just know you can also create this at work. If you love your job and you love your work, and you have things that you don't like doing, and you have things that you love doing, you like certain aspects of your work, make it a point to be on purpose and to take on more projects that include those aspects. And the best way to get those projects and to make sure that you're constantly in that energy of loving what you do is to onboard your boss about it. Say, I really love doing this. I really feel like I can make a contribution to the team, to the office, to the bottom line. If I did more of this, I'd like more of this, of these projects. I'm pretty sure your boss will be like, oh my God, you want more responsibility? Take it. Please take more responsibility, right? Has anybody had a boss that said, no, I don't want to give you any of that? I don't think so. Unless you're really in the wrong place and you're not getting along with your boss, which can happen sometimes. And then you just go outside of work and create purpose
I feel
outside
like
of
the
work.
only people that could say that would be maybe people that work for bosses that prefer to micromanage or are not good at delegating. But even then, you still have bosses that will even those bosses will still hand off some things to you. They'll still make you responsible for something, even if they don't give you free reign for it.
Yes, and the main point is that you're choosing internally and then externally when you voice it, what it is that you want to create meaning out of. And you're like, this makes me happy. I'm going to make this a bigger piece of my meaningful day. You're choosing this. So even if your boss doesn't delegate it to you, you still put words to those things. That already creates energy behind it. I'm pretty sure that even if it doesn't come about from this job, it'll come about in a different place in your life. All right, so 2 more quick slides. So how do we find it? How do we find this passion and meaning? So the best way to find it, there's no one size fits all formula in things like this. It really is, everybody has their own unique blueprint. Everybody has their own formula. The best way to find it is to ask yourself really high quality questions and keep going back and back and back until you find all the answers that you need. This isn't like the kind of thing where you answer some questions and it's over. These are questions, reflection questions that you can use in the worksheet that we gave the link to, that you can use over and over and over again at different levels and different, timelines in your life. And you can be intentional about feeling passionate on purpose and to make every day meaningful. It's easy, right? I know that a lot of you probably have something you love or something you stand for that fulfills you, and you just might need this meetup to nudge you and allow it to take more space in your life. So I'm going to give you permission to do that. Give it more space in your life. I know that you're here, and the reason I know this is because you're here. If this didn't speak to you, you wouldn't come to this chat and learn. I'm sure that you have things to do, you're busy. And if this didn't speak to you, you wouldn't be here. So you probably have something burning in your chest, in your belly, something you want to put out into the world that maybe you've been holding back and diving, maybe doing little tiny bits of it, but you want to bring it, make more space for it in your life. So here's some questions you can ask yourself. And these are all in the worksheet also. So to create a meaningful day, right? Ask yourself, how do I want to feel today? What do I want this day to mean to me? What is my purpose today? How do I want to contribute today? And here's an idea for you. You can make a checklist for yourself the night before, and don't only include all the to-do lists, all the tiny tasks you have to do, but also the things that would make you feel more meaningful, make your day feel more meaningful. Maybe a walk in the park, helping my elderly neighbor, sitting in the sun. Ask yourself, what kind of day and what kind of meaning do I want to attach to my day? And it doesn't matter what it is. There's no right or wrong answer. The most important thing is that it comes out of you. What you want comes out of you. And then it kind of sets the structure for your day. If you implant it in your head that you want to have a day that feels like relaxed and happy, when things come your way, you can ask yourself, is this aligned with the kind of day I want to have? No? Okay, I'm not going to talk to this person. I'm just going to ignore this little task and come back to it later tomorrow. Or I'm not going to, engage in this conversation if it doesn't feel the way you want it to feel. When it's possible, obviously. So in order to find purpose or deepening meaning, you can dig more into yourself and ask the following questions. Like, what feels good to you, right? So what are you proud of the most? What does this thing you're proud of symbolize for you? What is heart opening and makes you feel alive? What is something that gets you mad that you think needs to be fixed? Maybe something in your industry, maybe it's something, at work. Why don't we have enough sick days? I really would like to advocate for having more sick days, something like that. What is something you have always wanted to do, but have always put on the back burner? What do you love doing that doesn't feel like work? What comes easily to you that others think is hard? What do people often come to you for advice about? What is going to be my contribution in this world? When I'm sitting with my grandchildren on my lap in so many years, how do I want to describe my life to them? That's a really, really good question to tap into. What do I want to leave behind me? What is my legacy? Now, these are not questions you can answer in 2 minutes, but I want you to start thinking, get your juices flowing about this. Start tackling every single day like this, and I promise you, your days will feel more meaningful and purposeful. And in terms of work, go ahead.
So Eleanor, sorry to interrupt, but just purely out of personal curiosity. So when it comes to the questions to ask yourself to find that purpose or deeper meaning, is it to be expected that some questions will elicit a certain response and others might elicit a different response? Like, should we expect to have a couple different answers or a couple different areas that get covered within the realm of asking these questions? And if so, is the goal of it to kind of find a way to mesh them all together, or should these answers kind of all be in the same venue, or easily connected, or easily should they all be kind of similar?
So that's a really good question. And again, there's no right or wrong answer. There's only what you have a calling to write about. So if I sit with myself, or when I work with people, my clients, when they sit and write, I tell them not to edit themselves. What comes to your head and heart is what you write out. And that's what needs to happen right now in this moment. That's your truth. There's nothing anybody can say about that could be wrong. There's no right or wrong. Like I said, every person has their own blueprint and formula. What's right for you, maybe you want to make it all aligned, and maybe you will be able to quickly connect the dots. Maybe in the realm of work, you will have an answer and it will be very similar in your personal life. And for someone else, it may be completely different. And then they will have to figure out how to connect the dots themselves. But it's very, very different for every single person. The most important thing is to start thinking this way, to just start your brain thinking in that way, right? Instead of we get caught up in all the things that are not working and the things that don't feel good, but instead we have a choice. We can think differently and bring up different kinds of answers that also make us feel different and take different actions. So at work, what is it that you like doing at work? Is it creating friendships? Is it contributing to your team? Are you good with numbers? Focus on your gift and focus on the gift you have and see how you can expand on it, make more space for it. Are you good at creating systems? Are you good at leading meetings? Are you good at creating spreadsheets and pivot tables? And if yes, and like I said, if you want to do more of it, tell your boss, tell people around you. Even if it's not your boss, create energy and momentum around it. So even if you just tell your colleagues, I really love doing this, I'm obsessed with this thing, I really want to go to this conference, this is so awesome. One of the things, I used to work for a marketing agency that used to travel around Europe for conferences. And it was only a select few that always were chosen to travel and go to these conferences. It was the best time, the best parties, in my younger years when I was still partying. What I would start doing is I would start lobbying for myself to go, not even in front of my boss, but in front of my colleagues. I would so love to go. I would love to go because of this. I think it would so help me with my position. I wonder what they're doing. I wonder who's going to be, is Google going to be having the party, or is it Facebook? Who's going to be doing this thing? I started imagining and envisioning and really stepping into what it would be like to do it. And many of the times I would go more than once. When other people didn't have a chance, I was still going over and over again because I really just figured out I could step into this desired outcome before it even happened. So I started onboarding people right away. And so just kind of infuse the area around you with energy about what it is that you want to do. Talk about it, take it out of your heart, write it down, and put words to it. and just be yourself. Allow your authenticity to take up more space in your work life. Like, what is it that comes easily to you and that you want to talk about and is meaningful to you? The way you create more meaning, right? This is the secret, is to create many meaningful experiences for yourself throughout the day. And it's not this, we tend to think it's this like big thing. We have to create this big meaningful thing, but we just have to create tiny meaningful experiences for ourselves throughout the day. Does that make sense? All right, last slide. So just like 4 steps of how to create more meaning, how to find it and how to create and how to keep at it. So 4 easy steps to create more meaning and stand out. So the first one is, where are my steps? The first one is, how do you want to contribute? Tell as many people about it as possible, and then keep taking action and doing it, slowly giving it more space in your life. And finally, something that's often forgotten and missed is to celebrate your passions. Tell people about your excitement. Don't keep it to yourself. Everybody has a gift that is meant to be expressed in this world. In this worksheet, I wrote down these 4 pieces that you can go back to them. How do I want to contribute? Let me tell as many people as possible about it. I keep taking action and doing it slowly, tiny steps, slowly giving it more space in my life over time, and then celebrating it. I'm unique. I have this unique perspective. I'm doing this cute little thing, and just keep celebrating it and telling people about it from a place of excitement.
That's a really good call out. And it's kind of odd how many times I sit in on so many of these chats that certain advice kind of echoes across, no matter what, whether we're talking about like kind of inner work and mental health and that kind of thing, or if we're talking about like, you know, the day-to-day of like job searching or being happy at work. And this is that sentence about really celebrating your passions, to like tell people about what you're excited about and not keep it to yourself. It's one of those that like almost verbatim that like, you know, tell other people about what you're doing or what you want or what you're looking for, so that you can make connections, you know, either for job leads or, you know, like life goals or something like that. But it's really kind of interesting to me how this sentence, yes, rings true across a lot of different things. But even though the sentence doesn't really change, the meaning and the effect of it would absolutely change depending on what context that you like used this advice. So thank you for sharing that. That really resonates with me.
I mean, it's not really different than creating, than networking, except I really would like to remove the attachment that anything that we have to have results like right away as a result of telling people about our passion. So when you go to a networking event, so I work with business owners or, you know, people who have careers, and you go to a networking event and they tell people what they do, they expect an immediate, like, I'll hook you up with a job, I'll get you a job interview or client. But that's not even the important part. The important part is that you start landing in yourself and telling people what you do and figuring out how that feels to you energetically. I promise it's coming, but just enjoy the landing in yourself and telling people about it. That's the most important piece.
You're right. Yeah. Because I feel like so many times we've heard a lot about, the idea of like the Instagram life, and you're only seeing people's successes and not their struggles and that kind of thing. And even though we are normalizing that, I feel like even it's very hard to internalize the idea that people could be working on something for decades before they actually hit it big with something. And I feel like even when you are told about these things, like, you know, Tina Fey didn't get her big break on SNL until such and such age. Oprah Winfrey was, I think she was like 37 or something before she had her TV show. I can't remember the stats exactly, but there's a lot of them around that. Even hearing that doesn't really sink into you how long they might have been grinding on this, that it's not just something you trip and fall into and boom, there's your success. Like Lizzo's been making music for literally over a decade, even like, as her big grind, as something that she's, sacrificing parts of her life for. And I've known about her for like 3 or 4 years now, but she only just hit mainstream, popularity within the last about 1.5 years or so. So I feel like you're right. It's one of these things that if we all kind of stick to this and talk more about what we're excited about, even if that thing changes over the years, it's going to help normalize and help other people really internalize the idea that that struggle is real. And it's not just a slogan on an adorable little whiteboard. It's it's something that really does take time. You don't just trip into your success. You have to work for it. Everybody does.
But also, also just like enjoy it. Like all these artists that only became famous now, they've been working on it tirelessly, loving it, wanting a record deal, wanting to be famous in pop culture, but they haven't stopped because it's part of who they are. They created, they are tapped into their purpose, their meaning. They make that their meaning. Honestly, there's a lot of artists who could be very successful in a lot of different aspects of, artistic expression, music, painting, whatever. They chose one thing because that's what speaks to them and they went with it,
Yeah, no, you're right. I think a lot of time you're right. I mean, I just did it myself. We talk about it as like the struggle or the grind, but if you think about it more as either the journey or some like just doing what you love, that's how you get to there. It shouldn't be something that if it is something that you're struggling through, like you said, maybe it's just the part of the task or something that will help you meet that overall fulfillment or meet something that, meet that goal of yours or fill that void in your heart, something that makes you happy. But it should be a joyful thing. It should be something that you enjoy regardless of the success that comes.
That's the outcome, the big picture. And to be honest, life will always feed us 50-50. We're not always going to enjoy every single thing, but when we're like connected to something we love and why we're doing it, like we said before, then it becomes easier to just be like, this sucks, to give yourself a pause, get up, walk around, come back, finish it up, and end the day. And just kind of, reconnect to that purpose and meaning you've created for yourself. It just makes every day feel like so much better. Does anybody have any live questions before I start answering the questions that are posted on the slides?
Please feel free to jump in at any time, especially if we ask one of your questions and you want to add more context or maybe shift some of the meaning of what in case we don't interpret the question correctly. Please feel free to do so. All right, so to jump in here, to get to some of the questions, because I know a couple of our questions have kind of already been covered within today's chat. So let's just kind of scroll through and you can tell me if you think we need to like spend a little more time here, if there's something else you want to talk about.
Sure, so
elaborate on finding deeper meaning in your work. I feel like we kind of covered this.
Yeah, we covered it in the first slide, for sure.
Next question is, what's the point of focusing on the deeper meaning of my work? I would say we mostly covered this as well. We kind of you touched on the idea of either creating a situation where you are able to find more satisfaction in what you're doing, or even just identify what else you maybe would rather be doing while you're doing this.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, so this person said, how do you turn on? I find that I'm feeling lackluster in my job and I'm hitting a lot of walls with creativity and feeling confident in my role. The pandemic has made me less in tune with wanting to work. So, okay, so when you have a stumbling block like this, how can you tell if it's like they're saying, like, a momentary or seasonal sort of thing that will pass, like praise to God, the pandemic will pass at some point? Or how do you know if it's something that's indicative of a more a longer term shift or something that you need to actively change as opposed to sort of just riding out?
Well, I'm of the opinion, and this is my job with people that come to me, of the opinion that when you're feeling like something, like when you're hitting a wall or you're in resistance, it's time to question it. What am I resisting here? What is my lesson? What is the deeper meaning of this? Everything that pops up has a lesson for us. So I would ask yourself, like, what is the meaning of this? What is happening here? Hitting a lot of walls with creativity probably means that you're not in creative expression. Do you hear noise? No. Here's the background noise. I'm just not sure what it is. So it just means that you're not in creative expression often enough. And if you want to be in creative expression, then make sure that you create space for that in your life. So if it's not possible at work right now, if you're, let's just say you're not getting along with your boss, if you just don't feel like it, the energy is completely not doing it for you, make sure that when you have your own space and time at home, that you answer those questions in the worksheet and you create whatever it is you want to create. You know, some people like to Lego, puzzle, cook, paint, whatever it is you want to create it and look at it, celebrate it, and be proud of it. And when you're hitting creativity and feeling confident in your role, the pandemic. So the way to become more confident, again, is to tap into that joyful space of creativity, and taking action towards it is what's going to make you feel confident, because you're trusting yourself that this is what you want to do right now and you want to move forward. So I'll just give you an example. Exercising is a part of my day, fitness, right? So I'm overwhelmed often. I'm a human being who's overwhelmed. I have a lot of clients. I have a small child. I'm a single parent. I have my own business. I just moved. There was remodeling done. There's a lot of things happening. They just went back to school, all the things at the same time. And I really felt like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm like so overwhelmed. I just feel like hiding. But I trusted myself that even though I had all these tasks, and my immediate reaction is to go and get all the tasks done and talk to all the people and you know, make sure everything outside of me is settled. I trusted myself to go exercise or go do yoga or do whatever, because I knew that then I would be a more whole human when I tackled the other things. But in that moment, it can feel really overwhelming. Like you need to go take care of all the other things before you take care of yourself. So I trusted myself, and that built more confidence in me to trust myself more when I have those nudges that tell me, do this. Does this make sense? If you want to tell us more about the context of your work and you know, where exactly you're hitting a wall with creativity, then go ahead and pop in, and I'll help you more specifically to you.
Yeah. And please, guys, if you're taking in time, you know, if you just don't want to come off mute, you're more than welcome to throw up in the chat, like, hey, I have a thought, but I'm still typing. And that way we know to come back to you. All right. So I feel like we kind of covered this about if your job doesn't really seem to provide a deeper meaning.
Yes.
The next question I was really interested in as well. This person asked, how do you stand out without feeling like you've stepped on other people's toes? So this can be a really hard thing for a lot of people, especially if, you know, maybe the area that you are trying to shine in is not, you know, the newest sliced bread. You know, if it's not completely uncharted territory, it can feel like maybe you are, like you said, like stepping on people's toes, or stepping into an area where you think is free and open, but you suddenly realize there's a bunch of rules or processes that you don't know about.
I would ask you, why do you think you'll be stepping on other people's toes? Is that the truth, or is that just a meaning you're attaching? Again, a meaning you're attaching to an action you're going to take. I'm not sure of the context, but standing out.
No, you're right. That is a very good question. Is this, you know, do you think that, are you telling yourself a narrative that it's, you know, about something that might happen, or is this a sure thing? You know, are you worried about something that is going to happen because it's an eventuality, like, you know, tomorrow will come, you know, the seasons will change, that kind of thing? Or are you worrying about, you know, are you presenting potential roadblocks in the guise of troubleshooting?
Yeah, and also, you know, how do you want to stand out? What is the standing out that you want to, what does it mean? What does it mean to you to stand out? And what does it mean to you to step on other people's toes? Now there's like, the first thing I would say is to really root into how you're feeling, not what is happening outside of you. You're never responsible for other people's emotions and their own meanings to things. We are all adults, and everybody can take care of their own emotional well-being and meanings. You're not responsible for anybody's emotional well-being. As long as you come from a place of heart and not from malice, and you want to stand out because you believe in something, you're advocating for something. I don't see I mean, people might not like it, but that usually happens when you stand. How do you stand out? You opinionate, you have something to say, you're passionate about something, your energy of confidence is contagious one way or another. People get upset, especially in an organization where people work together and there's teams, or one person, you know, the boss likes one person over another. There's all these, just like in a family, people will get upset. But I would say, you know, you need to take care of yourself and make space for yourself. Because, you know, you can't be fulfilling for other people. You need to be fulfilling for yourself. first. Otherwise, like the oxygen mask, take care of yourself and then the other person. Of course, there's ways to be sensitive to other people and what they're going through. And, you know, the best way is to communicate and be open about it. But if I had like a very specific incident of this, I would be be able to answer more specifically to you.
Yeah, for sure. So please feel free, if this was your question, please feel free to add context as we go further. I'm also going to be sharing links to Eleanor's LinkedIn URL. So if you want to connect with her after today's session, you are more than welcome to do so there. Okay, so this person had asked, let me scroll to that question. This person had asked, how can I most authentically be myself while still being professional?
I'm also of the belief that those two, being yourself doesn't make you less professional. As a matter of fact, the more you are yourself, the more confident you are, and the more that builds into your professional life. So if you're confident about all the pieces of you and you're whole and accepting of yourself, to me, that seems like you're more professional.
No, I would absolutely second this. I feel like this is a question that people ask a lot. You know, is the idea of balancing like who you really are and people's professional perceptions of you. And ironically enough, it's something we talked about a ton at the start of this pandemic, because with so many people going to remote work that had never done it before, especially in industries that were either people seemingly thought were not suited to it, or it just wasn't common. What you got was, like, try to explain to people, is that you're not becoming less professional if you go to work, you know, in pajama bottoms and your dress top. You're not becoming less professional because you're working at a kitchen table because you are not lucky enough to have a dedicated office space. Some people just have the luck, and some people just don't have it. What we are doing is we're becoming more real. You're becoming more authentic. And so, yeah, you're joining a meeting with, you know, kind of a messy bun and a top knot, and you know, you might have like people walking back and forth in the background because you share your space, but you're also getting a glimpse into the life of your coworkers. You're getting to see what that person's whole life is like. And so everybody is quite literally bringing themselves to work in a way that makes you a little bit vulnerable, and that's scary, but it also requires the same kind of give and take of compassion and understanding for what somebody might be dealing with personally. And it shows that doing your work and being professional and showing up in the ways that matter are not the trappings. It's not the three-piece suit. It's not, you know, having a full face of makeup if you don't want it to be. It can be turning up to the meeting and showing that you can do your work and do it well, because your work should stand on its own, and that's what you should be judged by.
Yeah, it makes you more relatable as a human being. Like, human beings are more relatable. Sometimes, somewhere, someone in the corporate world decided that you have to have this like facade of suit and tie and and talk with like these big jargony words to confuse people, instead of like just being yourself and talking about like what you love doing, what you do with your kids. Your kid walks up and like says, you know, like jumps into the video, goodbye, I'm doing work. It's very common and acceptable today, but it's also something that makes you more human. And there's nothing wrong with that. And just to put it in perspective, like all the years that you went to school, all the professional experience you've had, all the trainings, all the, you know, the dealings you've had with people, let's just say you negotiations or coaching or, you know, dealing with financial statements, those things don't go away because you're wearing pajamas and your kids are popping into the video. There's still value in you. It's in you. It's not going anywhere. Whatever you wear doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, speaking as somebody who less than 2 years ago did not look as alternative as I do now. I didn't have purple hair. I didn't have visible tattoos, but I was in a situation, like, you know, in an environment that encouraged me to express myself and was not afraid of that, and also made it so that it was well understood that my worth was not conditional upon my appearance, despite the fact that I'm in a very appearance heavy role. Like, I come and talk to you all every day. So it's one of those things where I feel like the narrative that we used to tell ourselves was that, like, if you fit into the box and you did it well, then you could, you know, kind of step outside that, then you could change what people expected. And that is still true to a certain extent in certain very, very traditional, you know, roles. But there are
it's
other
very
ways
common.
to do this.
It's still very common in a lot of places. I mean, I hear a lot of people talking about this. and you also have to ask yourself, like, is it meaningful to me to be working in a place that doesn't celebrate self-expression when it's really, is it important to you to celebrate self-expression? If it is, why are you working in a place that doesn't celebrate that? There's a disconnect. You're never going to be happy. It's always going to be like you're in this other land. Your true self is hidden somewhere because you're working under a false pretense in this other place. So, ask yourself, why am I here if this place doesn't celebrate expression and I am a champion of it?
Absolutely. So we only have 4 minutes left in today's chat. This always goes too soon. I feel like we could chat about this for another hour at least.
Yes.
Before we go, there is one question I want to make sure that we touch on, and it probably is a good one to end on as well. This person had asked, are there consequences to not finding the deeper meaning in my work?
Again, do you think there's consequences to it? There's no consequences. I think that this question came up before I explained the difference between creating deeper meaning in my work versus creating deeper meaning through my life that seeps into my work. Just creating deeper meaning or having deeper meaning in my work. There's a difference. So there's no consequences. I mean, do you want to be a more fulfilled, happy human? Then create deeper meaning. If you want to, it's not for everyone. Some people really, there are people, my ex-husband is like this. He was like, I just want to go to work. I just want to come home. And I just want to, just chat with you, maybe have some dinner, watch TV, play with the kids, and that's it. And I was like, okay, that's good for you. That's not for me. Again, it's, if you don't want to create deeper meaning for yourself in your life, then by all means, just, I said, purpose. I mentioned your purpose is good enough by your existence. That's good. That has meaning too. And if that's good for you, by all means, that might make you happy and fulfilled. So then there's no consequences. There's no good or bad. There's only what is, really.
Would you say, is it safe to say, or is it true to say that what you're kind of getting at here, for maybe if it's like, maybe we haven't hit the point home quite enough for people, is that if you're asking the question, then probably it's something you maybe should do. But if it's not something that bothers you, there's no harm in living that unexamined life. There's no harm in, if it's not something that you feel like you need to keep asking, then
no, I think that I think you just need to ask yourself, what is it that you want? And is your current life playing that out for you? And if it's not, then answer those questions and find out how you can create whatever it is that you want.
I feel like it's always the case for like simple questions like that. What seems like a simple question on its face can result in or can unpack a lot of things that you really maybe didn't anticipate. So yeah, you're right. It's, ask yourself the question, but then maybe make sure that you are being as honest with yourself as you can be about what that answer is and what you want to do after that. Because some people, you maybe have to confront a truth that you don't like. It sounds bad, but it's true. So that's what and it's not something you want to change. So it's something you have to be comfortable living with that truth. Or maybe it's something that is great, and so you're excited about it. So there's no need to change that truth, but now you need to make sure that what you're doing is, actually pursuing that.
I would say honor yourself and any answer that you have, because sometimes peeling away the layers of truth takes time also. So if you're used to ignoring your desires for a long period of time, in the beginning, and more tuned into what you should be doing because you grew up in a traditional family, because you're always fed, you should, it seems like the truth to you right now. And even though you might have this like burning question, like, is this what I want? Is it not what I want? You will have some time. It'll take you some time to peel away the layers of truth. You won't know the truth right away, and that's okay. Honor yourself and your journey. The most important thing is that you are doing what it is that you want to do. If you want to sit down and answer those questions, that's awesome. If you don't want to deal with things like this, then it's not for you. That's okay. Then you have your meaning. Your meaning is what you make it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Eleanor. This has been a lovely afternoon.
Yeah.
Before we go, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you did want to leave our audience with, or just anything you'd like to say before we wind down today?
Yeah, I wanted to say that if you feel like you have a unique gift, a passion, a hobby, a project on the side, something that you love doing, but you've been fed stories by yourself or through others that it's not going to make money. It's not something you should be doing right now. You should get a degree before you do it. You should get married first. You know, put everybody else's noise aside and ask yourself what it is that you want, because those things that you love doing have not landed on you by coincidence. We don't receive gifts by a random, you know, randomly, or things that aren't meant to be expressed. It is meant to come out of you. So give it some time, thought, and space in your life, because I promise as soon as you express it, your entire world will change.
Thank you so much, Eleanor.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you for spending time with our community today and sharing sharing these wonderful ideas and your great opinions and answers, especially to a lot of our very deep questions. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
I also want to say huge thank you to everybody that's attending it today, everybody that registered so that they can watch this later. Thank you for spending time with us. We very much value it. I've put a couple links in the chat where you can check out our upcoming live events, and as well as links where you can connect with Elinor and download that worksheet if you are interested. We'll include those links in the rewatch email as well. I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday and a happy and safe end to your week, and register to vote.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Bye, everyone.